Coming to you from the Deep South, this is the Blue Collar Leadership Podcast. High-impact leadership is not reserved for leaders, and it has nothing to do with your position, title, or rank. However, it does have everything to do with your character. It's time to climb to the next level and beyond, personally and professionally. Now, let's start making it happen with your host, Max Story.
Hello, and thanks for listening to or watching the Real People Getting Real Results show today. Got a special guest, Miss Denise Williams. I'll get to her in just a second, and excited to share her with you and introduce you to her. It's actually my first time seeing you, I think, Denise. I don't think we've ever seen each other. We've talked for a long time, but for the listeners or the viewers, just so you know, this episode is available on Blue Collar Leadership YouTube channel and also on audio on the Blue Collar Leadership podcast. So thanks for listening or watching. And what's going on, Miss Denise, way out in Kansas City, Missouri?
Hey, Mac. Thanks for having me. I appreciate the opportunity to join you and talk leadership. It's been a good little bit since we connected, and it is great to meet you virtually, face to face. First time.
Yeah. You remember? I always ask people when we start. Do you remember how we got connected?
I do. It was through LinkedIn. I back in 2017, actually. So we're a little over 7.5 years.
That's a long time.
I still remember specifically a quote that you had shared in some of your leadership content, and it was "Be a river, not a reservoir."
Okay.
And that I'm a collector of leadership quotes, and that was just a quote that I hadn't came across before, and it just instantly connected with me. And I feel like I try to be that in my own leadership journey and connect people with, resources and knowledge and other people that may be able to help them in their journey. And so I think I commented on that content that you had posted, and then we connected in Messenger, and the leadership discussions just kind of took off from there. So
yeah, I had to look that up because I couldn't remember either. I just know it's been a long time, and I mentor or coach you from time to time. You'll reach out. I saw that we had a lot of messages over the 7.5 years, and we've talked on the phone some as well, right?
We have. I think, about a month or two after you and I originally connected, you had reached out and offered me a mentorship session. And I think we spent about 3 hours on the phone that day. And I looked it up. I still have my notes from that call, about 6 pages of notes. I was just feverishly writing as fast as I could. I was taking away as many nuggets as I call them knowledge nuggets, and I'm writing down as many as I could that day. And I've been trying to apply as many as I could since that conversation.
That's awesome. Do you mind sharing what's at the top of that page? What the first thing you wrote down was that got your attention? If you don't want to, that's fine. I have no idea what it might be. I'm just curious.
We talked about the 7 habits. That was definitely one of the common themes throughout our conversation. You kind of kept pointing back to all the leadership books. I constantly read I've always kind of poured into leadership development. That's something that I'm passionate about. And you kind of kept tying it back to, no matter what book you're reading, if you break it down, they pretty much all tie back to the 7 habits.
That's right.
Those are kind of foundational in all leadership development content. The underlying principle of leadership is 87% character, 13%. 87% character, 13% competency. And a lot of leadership focuses on the competency piece, but very few really dig in deep into the character development piece. And so that's where people really can set themselves apart, is by continuing to develop their character. And that's the part that they can control the most, right? That's where your personal power lies, is in your own personal character development. And so, this is good stuff. There's so many more. I mean, I can flip through these pages and just keep pulling out. I remember your kind of mantra of make it happen or somebody else will. And that was, that kind of plays in the back of my head all the time of if not you, then who, right? And so it's definitely, when you kind of look at your ability to impact and influence other people, and kind of pour into others, regardless of what position or title you hold, it really kind of changes the way you approach each day in your show, the way you show up to work, the way you show up to, your own personal life. And so those takeaways from that conversation, some of that I already had a foundational kind of belief in, but our conversation really kind of helped build upon that. And I definitely found several more resources to kind of keep building upon my own character and leadership development journey. So
that's outstanding. Those are some good notes that grabbed your attention right off the bat too. That's some good stuff. The be a river, not a reservoir. I first heard that from John Maxwell, and it stuck with me just like it stuck with you. And that's what I try to be. That's why you see me all the time writing newsletters, posting on LinkedIn and all the other social media. The only one I really care about is LinkedIn. For anybody that knows me, they may see me all over, but that's the only one that really matters. But so that was 2017. It was 7.5 years ago. But you were not just starting. You didn't just see something from me, and that was the beginning of your leadership journey. When did you actually get interested in this type of personal growth, leadership development content? When did that start for you?
It actually started pretty early. I was raised in a family-owned business, and it was a blue-collar-owned family kind of industry business. So my father and grandfather started a business tearing down old buildings, salvaging the building materials, and then reselling that. So at a very early age, my two brothers and I, we had ready-made jobs as nail pullers and brick stackers and job site cleanup crews. And so, at a very young age, 4 or 5, 6 years old, my dad and my grandfather, very night and day different leadership styles. My dad, great guy, very smart with his business, decisions, but he was great at executing the work, not so great at leading people to execute the work. He was a little more hot-tempered, not so great at explaining, the task at hand or giving clear direction. Definitely not great at giving positive feedback or, kind of helping motivate the troops, if you will. And my grandfather on the other side was very patient, explained the why, really kind of coach and mentored my brothers and I through the task at hand. And I think just even before I knew what leadership was, kind of really saw the power and impact of one person and the different approaches to getting work done, and how it changed the outcome, but how it also instilled a sense of pride and motivation to kind of want to take it to the next level. If we did a great job for my dad, it was like, you got more work. If you did a great job with grandpa, you got more work, but you also got some really good feedback, and you felt accomplished, and you felt, like you did something great, and you wanted to exceed expectations next time. And so I think that, kind of deeply rooted kind of sense of pride and accomplishment started very early. And then I just wanted to be able to instill that in others. And so when I kind of left the family business in my early 20s, I kind of naturally had those tendencies. And then I was like, how do I grow this impact? How do I do this more often? And as people gave me feedback of like, hey, you made me feel great when you said this, or when you helped me with that, then I, just kind of started equipping myself with the tools to do it more often, because it felt great to get that feedback and know you had that impact on others.
Yeah, that's powerful. We share a similar story right there, because that's what, when I started discovering this stuff, started sharing it with other people, I felt the same way as you. It felt good to help people. I had never felt, valuable in that kind of way. And now that's all I do. Rhea and I both do it. And it bit me hard when I got bit by it. It was a hard road to get here, but I got bit by that bug hard, because I was, had just been a blue collar worker. But how old were you when you started working with in your family business? You said you were young. How what's that mean?
Yeah, we were literally kids, 5, 6 years old. Yeah. So we were, like I said, we were pulling the nails, or, sorting the lumber, or cleaning brick and stacking the brick off the job site. I think I was 3 or 4 when my grandfather taught me how to properly use a push broom on the job site, because there was limited jobs that we could do, you know, from a safety perspective. Some of this was done before, like, the OSHA standard. I mean, the OSHA was around, but, you know, some of the job sites didn't have as many liability restrictions, and you know, they didn't, as long as my dad signed whatever contracts or liability waivers, we were running around the job sites at a pretty young age. I think I was running skid steers and forklifts at, you know, 7, 8, 9 years old. So yeah, so I mean, it started pretty early. So I think that's what really resonated so well with your content was, you know, coming from that background and working in that industry for, you know, my first 25 years of life, essentially. Working with a lot of customers that came from blue collar trade industries, contractors, rental property owners, construction, you know, a lot of union trades, electricians, plumbers. And so just really understanding some of their journeys and some of the challenges. My husband's blue collar. He's also in the rail industry, and he's, you know, frontlines and equipment manufacturing essentially for the rail industry. Brothers are both, one's union electrician, the other one's does specialty truck equipment manufacturing. So just really understanding kind of their journeys and challenges that they've experienced throughout their careers, for, you know, either if they've had a great leader or not so great leaders, and some of how that impacts not just their day at work, but when they come home from work. And so really, a lot of your content, I feel like, it's great. You've got it tailored towards the blue collar, but I think it's applicable to anyone that wants to lead people, from no matter what seat they sit in, right?
That's right, because it's principles. They apply to everyone. And so you say your husband's in the rail industry, and you're in the rail industry. Did you go from working in the family business to the rail industry, or was there a journey in there somewhere?
I did actually. Originally, it was through a customer that had shopped with us at the family business. So when I decided to leave the family business, that was kind of my first big girl job, if you will. Was like leaving the family business, and so I spent 2.5 years with a rail contractor. So picking up scrap ties. I kind of coordinated with the field crews. I was mostly back office, but kind of really handled all the logistics of the field crews, and made sure they had all the tools and resources and logistics they needed to be successful out in the field. And so just, that kind of gave me the bug. It kind of gave me the interest in the rail industry.
Yeah. That's pretty cool.
Been a couple of years. Eventually kind of went back to the family business, thinking my brothers and I were going to take over and eventually buy my dad out. As family business stories go, that didn't really work out. And so about a year later, we all kind of parted ways, and I went back to the real world, and it actually ended up in commercial construction. And so spent about 5 years on a power plant construction project, setting in job site trailers on the construction project. So again, back to the blue collar, at least supported field, right? I was still back office, but on the front lines, supporting frontline blue collar level work. So it was commercial construction and rail industry is my entire career.
That's pretty neat. And so I want to go back to your family business real quick, the salvaging the I guess lumber, everything from old buildings and houses and that sort of stuff. You'll appreciate this. I just got to share it with you. I don't want to take too much away from your story, but you probably think it's kind of interesting if you don't know it. I was reading a book by Truett Cathy, the founder of Chick-fil-A, and in his first business, he actually opened a hamburger restaurant. He had it 20 years before he opened the first Chick-fil-A, and he actually converted his hamburger business into the first Chick-fil-A store. But when he built the hamburger business, he was going around to old sites and pulling out nails. He built that first building with used nails that he got out of some lumber or something like that. So he was doing it himself.
That's amazing. I believe it. I know people that, like, from just growing up in the family business, they would have coffee cans full of used nails, and they'd straighten them out. And I mean, we'd pull the nails, but mostly we would just we sold the scrap metal. And so my grandfather and my dad were both very thrifty in terms of everything on the project was if it could bring value and we weren't paying to dispose of it in a dumpster, we were trying to find a way to make money with it, so everything down literally to the bolts and tacks were going in a 55-gallon barrel and getting sent to the scrap, for
go ahead.
For some kind of cash. And so
that's a neat operation. I watched somehow I got hung up for a week or two watching a guy do that on YouTube. He's down in Florida, like he's doing it to, like, somebody buys a oceanfront property for like $20 million, got an old mansion on it. That's what was kind of cool about his, where they used to be like super high end properties, and now he's there to, do what you guys were doing. And he's so full blown in it. He's got like a store and everything. He's got a store. It's got all. He takes everything and puts it in his store and sells it. He may have like 20 refrigerators and lumber and like a Home Depot, but he's pulling all that stuff.
And that's essentially what we had. So my dad has 4.5 acres. That was, it was a storefront with all the building materials. And then he eventually moved into like bankruptcies and insurance claims and, several other areas of, opportunity. But that's kind of where they started, was a pickup truck, and they started getting more contracts than they were selling the materials directly off the job site, but then they started getting more projects than they could manage. And so they kind of outgrew that model of sell off the job site. So then they needed a place to move the material so that they could move to the next project. And so that's kind of grew from there. So
they got the holding area. Very entrepreneurial. He sounds like your father and grandfather. And that's why I was thinking about this guy when I watched him. I said, he's making money from every single thing out there. And now he's got a video. It makes some money from that too.
Oh yeah, if he would have been, I think back, my grandfather, my dad, like if they could have been in the whole podcast time and the YouTube channel time, they would have definitely had a show. They were entertaining for sure. I mean, my dad's still with us, but it was an entertaining time for sure.
Yeah, that's interesting. I just got to ask you before I forget, just in case. Have you ever ridden one of the, like I call it a reel train? You ever been on one of those? Have you ever got a chance to ride the reel trains?
Yes. So I was actually accepted into like a leadership development program about 3 years ago. And it was a 3-year program that basically pulled me out of my back office job, put me into like a rotational development program. It moved me through, I think I was in 7 departments over 33 months. And one of those departments was in operations. Well, a year of it was in operations, directly frontline operations, but it was broken up into like smaller 3-month segments of multiple areas of operation. It's really hard to explain in a simple.
It was cool though, right? You got like all kind of experience. I remember you reached out at least once during that period, because I remember that maybe when you and your husband ordered a bunch of books or something, y'all ordered some books together. But anyway, go ahead and tell that story about the train ride, at least.
So I got to take a train. It was a coal train. I got to ride a coal train from
how far?
Just south of Kansas City down to, I think it was almost to the Oklahoma border. And
that was pretty cool.
It was really cool.
Or they put you in one of the buggies on the back.
No, I got to ride in the front locomotive, and I got to ride in like the jump seat, which is just like a little seat that folds down. It's there was the engineer and the conductor, and then I was like the third leg, which I think makes when they have somebody from management, riding with them, I think it makes them nervous. But I really enjoyed the ride and really enjoyed connecting with. It was an amazing crew. Both of them were just extremely they were very positive and had just so much like just incredible insight and information to share, and I took so much from that journey. It was just a few hour train ride. I don't know, maybe I didn't get to take their full shift ride with them because I was only with that team for a short bit, and they were trying to like get me exposure to a bunch of different things. I really wanted I was like, send me with the crew and I don't come home till they come home, and I want the full experience, but I didn't get that. But I really enjoyed the time I spent with them, and They were just incredible. So I made sure I sent their leadership, feedback, just thanking them for the time and their willingness to just kind of share their experience in the rail industry, their career, kind of some of the challenges that they'd had with, leadership and just a lot of the positivity that they'd also experienced in their career. So
yeah,
I took a lot from it.
Did you tense up a little when you were going across the crossings? Seems like if I was driving the train, I would be worried about are the people actually going to stop, every single time. Seems like it'd be a little bit stressful.
It was enlightening, because you clearly see people that are definitely not adhering to safety, crossing warning signals and trying to beat the train and, kind of pressing their luck. And when you got a 2 or 3 mile train pushing you down the tracks, like there's really not a lot you can do with that. And so, it was interesting to see kind of how many people try to beat the train. So
that's
the tracks.
Yeah. Yep. I saw just yesterday, I think it was, I saw on X a video of it was a couple of law cars sitting at a railroad crossing waiting for the train. It was like they were sitting here and the train was coming from their right, and they had their lights on. They were going somewhere, an emergency situation, but they had to wait for the train, and the arm was down and the train was coming, and the train passed by, and the one in the front went on and went around the deal, and then he ran into another train was coming the opposite way, and it hit him. I don't know if that's. I stay away. I don't even park close when I'm by those gates. I stay back a little way.
Yeah, you against a train will lose every time, and that's a fact. And I mean, I volunteered for a couple of years with an organization called Operation Lifesaver, and it's an rail industry organization that's really about getting information out to people about public safety and awareness around trains. And I think the statistic is one. I don't know if it's changed, but it was I think it's 1 in every 6 hours somebody is hit by a train, either in a vehicle or a pedestrian. So in the U.S. So I mean, it's pretty significant that how many people either don't understand the risk associated with crossing tracks, or they just don't respect the risk that's involved with that. So definitely,
I respect it.
Yeah, same. My dad's business was located next to tracks as I was growing up. A pretty significant. I mean, there was 4 or 5 sets of tracks going into a main switch yard, and I saw somebody try to beat a train when I was a kid, and watched the paramedics try to cut this person from a train for several hours, and he survived, but he was not, fully. He didn't live a full kind of independent life, let's say, for the rest, for his rest of his years on this planet. So definitely that decision cost him a lot. So
that'll leave an impact on your life. I mean, your life, seeing that or watching it, you don't forget that, especially if you were younger then, right? You said back those days.
Probably 10 or 12 years old. So
that'll leave an impression. I got to ask you too, and you can talk about this generally, but I got the nugget though when you were talking about your dad and granddad. They're 2 different styles of leadership. So, because I always talk about, you can learn. It don't matter what kind of leader you got, you can learn something from them. If you got a great leader, you can learn how to be. If you have a not so great leader, you can learn how not to be and what not to do, right? And you learn some of that from those, but they're probably not the only good and bad leaders you had in your career. Can you share? Can you share some things that some leaders that you ain't got to share their name or anything or where they were at or anything like that, but just some good leaders, some of the things that caused you to think they were a good leader, and then some other folks. And again, we ain't talking about grandpa and dad. We'll leave them out of it. But just in your career, some leaders, again, not their names or anything, but the things you learn from bad leaders and things you learn from good leaders. What were some of those things? Anything resonate with you?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I've had some phenomenal leaders throughout, either direct or indirect leaders. Some that were just, either peer-to-peer that really kind of just showed up and led by example and, inspired me to be better. or, direct leaders that kind of opened doors or gave me opportunities to develop myself or to challenge myself or gave me opportunities to shine, kind of set stretch goals, push me out of my comfort zone, and also like even when I didn't necessarily shine, they kind of helped me learn from the failure. Kind of they helped me, take the lesson from it and learn kind of where I needed to grow, what I could do better next time, and then gave me another shot. Like they didn't just like one and done. You just kind of, hey, you're gonna set this one out next time. It was, hey, no, we're gonna get you right back in the game. Like, and when I was unsure, I was like, no, I don't think that worked out so well next time. It was like, no, you can't sit on the bench forever. And it was get you back in the game and just kind of that encouragement and opportunity. So
then they didn't beat you up. Sounds like those leaders didn't beat you up. They held you up.
Exactly. And I think that's been a difference maker. On the flip side of that, it's kind of, I can't say I've had any like terrible leaders.
That's a good thing.
Yeah, it is. I've definitely witnessed some, that I would definitely not want to work for, or people that I've felt bad for that, situations that I've observed that I'm like, man, I'm really glad I don't work over there, or, but, and, I think those are kind of more stress induced leaders. They're, there's a lot more, a lot less direction given, but high expectations with maybe less than favorable resources or conditions to succeed.
Yeah.
But the expectations are still high, and it's like people aren't set up for success, but they're still held to very high standards. And I think that's over time erodes morale. And and when the game can't be won, kind of do you show up to win every day? Like I think that kind of over time most people don't, or you're gonna find a new game to play, or you just kind of stop playing the game and you just show up and take a seat, right?
Yeah, that's a tough spot right there. That's
Definitely.
that's a tough spot to be in. So I got to ask you, any of those bad leaders that you saw that you didn't report to, did any of them ever try to get you to work on their team and you turned them down? Did you ever have that happen in your career?
I have had a couple opportunities that people had reached out to me about a potential opportunity, and either I knew firsthand that wasn't really a leader that I would thrive with, or that my character would align well with theirs, and that it wouldn't be. I would either be so far misaligned with kind of who I try to be to kind of align with what their expectations were, or I was warned by somebody else that hey, that's probably not going to be a great fit for you, just because they know kind of what standard I hold myself to or how I conduct myself. And so I was really grateful for that.
Yeah, you got some word of mouth advertisement about that boss.
Absolutely. I mean, yeah, that's their calling card, right? And so I think that speaks volumes to what kind of person you're going to attract onto your team.
Yeah, I'm glad you shared that. You're sharing some good stuff, Denise, because you're making me think a lot. And I always talk about, when I'm talking with people, I always tell them, I'll say, have you ever seen that really good boss in your organization? And maybe you're working for a boss that's not so good, and so you don't do such a good job because you don't really like your boss. So you kind of hold back a little, or maybe you some people do stuff to sabotage the boss, right? They do, so some people do that. They really take it to an extreme. I say, have you ever seen those kind of people though? And they want to work for a good boss, but the good boss is watching how they work for somebody else. And the good boss never going to ask that person to join their team. But I hadn't thought about it from the opposite. What you just told me was just the opposite. So now whenever I talk about that, I'm going to be talking to some leaders in a few weeks, and a room full of leaders, top leaders. And that's one of the things I'm going to talk to them about. I give them that. I think I give them this scenario last time we were out there, the one I told you just now, but the one you shared, it's the same way. Sometimes there may be a what I call a high impact individual, a high impact team player in the organization. And one leader may really want that person on their team, but that person who is a high impact person is watching how that leader leads the team they already have. And so just if they ever get the opportunity, the high impact leader is going to, or team member is going to turn them down because of what they see. But it's a principle, right? That's why it works both ways. It's a principle, like who we are is who we attract. And it also determines who we repel. So thank you for that insight right there. Yeah. That's what's cool about that. I get to talk to all kind of people about all different kinds of things. And it's always leadership development and personal growth. So that's really cool. So I wanted to ask you about, you had read some of our books, right? Or some of my books. You ordered some for yourself and your husband. I don't know if you ordered some before that for yourself, or that was when you first initially ordered.
Yeah. So I have a few of them that I've downloaded on, I think it's Kindle or Audible. I use both. So, so I've got some of I commute 2 hours a day round trip. So I do a lot of audiobooks. Yeah. So I've got some of them that I've bought over the years. I think some of the influence, is it
Defining Influence?
Which one?
The Defining Influence, probably. Yep. My first book, the longer one, the one where I talk about my bad parenting with my son Eric and all that stuff.
Yeah. And then I've got Leadership Gems for Women from Maria. Okay. And then, and then I know when I was out in the field and I was working with the frontlines and really wanted to drive my impact with during my time with those teams, I got the toolbox tips and was really trying to kind of talk through those. I got to lead a lot of the safety briefings and safety engagement conversations while I was out in the field. And so I was trying to pull in some of those kind of your toolbox tips as well, and kind of change up the dialogue and kind of challenge some of the complacency and kind of the routine conversations that we're playing in. There's a lot of rules, compliance testing and things that go on in the rail industry. It's very heavily regulated from a safety perspective. And so I was just really trying to inject some new perspective with my time with the teams. And I think that connected well with those teams. I was able to build some really strong relationships and rapport with the union teams. I mean, some of these teams I was only on for 2 weeks, but going in there on day one and saying, hey, I'm not an expert. I've been in the industry for 10 plus years, but I don't know anything about what you do. I'm here to learn. I'm here to grow from you. I want to learn as much as I can. And I also want to deposit whatever I can, to you. So
that's great.
Let's learn and grow together while I'm here. Like, put me to work,
If everybody would walk in meeting people like that, they'd connect a whole lot quicker and a whole lot deeper, right? Instead of going in trying to think I'm better than, or I know more than, or even when I don't know, just pretending and let the pride and ego. So that's good stuff, Denise. And you built strong relationships with them.
I did. I've had so many reach out to me even since I left. Like I said, and some of those I was on just a short 2 weeks, some as much as 4 months. And it's been phenomenal. I honestly, I miss it. Like, I came back to the office and at the beginning of the year, my program ended and I'm back in the office pretty much full time now. And it's where I need to be on a personal level. Just my daughter's got 2 years. Our daughter has 2 years left of high school. And so it's a better work-life balance and kind of, let's put first things first. Right. And so let's kind of get her through high school and put my priorities where they need to be. But as soon as I can, I really do hope to get back out on the front lines. And I really enjoyed building those relationships and leaving each day just feeling like I left people better than I found them. And they left me better than I found myself that day, right? And so I just, it was a great, great experience. And not just the knowledge that I learned, but the value that I extracted from just hearing the journey of, 30-year railroaders. And at the end of a 7-week rotation, a 30-year railroader telling me that I had a bigger impact on him than most leaders he had encountered in his 30 years of railroading. Like, that was impactful. Like, and I was nobody special. I didn't do anything. All I did was show up, respect what they do, let them know I respected what they do, care, stayed in the trenches with them, regardless of what weather, what working conditions were there, and just said, teach me. Like, I want to know what you do, and I want to learn from you. And it was life-changing. It was a very impactful experience.
That's a great story, and I mean that's a great leadership example you just shared. But that's really all you have to do. That is care about the people, and it doesn't matter if they're leaders or it doesn't matter who they are. It doesn't matter about their position, their title. Those folks out there in the blue collar industries, I can connect with them like almost instantly, all the time. But it's because I do care about them, and I don't think I'm special by no means. I'm just like you. They all teach me something because I don't know nothing about what most of them are doing. Right? I don't know anything about that, and it's cool to see. And most people, and I like your opinion on this. I ask a lot of people this when I interview them, but I had a lady on LinkedIn one time. She was kind of chewing on me for labeling people blue collar folks. She's like, why do you label these people blue collar? And I told her, I said, well, I'm a blue collar person, and I don't see it as a label. I see it as I don't see it as a label to be ashamed of. I see it as a title to be proud of. And so I started asking different places. I want to make sure that I wasn't seeing it wrong. So I started telling that story whenever I would speak, and I would ask the audiences, do you guys see it as a label to be ashamed of or a title to be proud of? What you think they all said, Denise? What would you guess?
I mean, I think they work hard, and I think they want to be distinguished between, the paper pushers and the office, the back office. I think they work extremely hard, and I'm not just both. I guess kind of, well, not just there's. Let me organize my thoughts here. All roles are essential, or they shouldn't exist, right?
Absolutely.
So
I agree.
But I think that there's a distinction between kind of the elements that they're working in, the conditions that they're working in. So I don't think that there's anything disrespectful about blue collar, white collar. It's not about being better than or less than. It's literally just a distinction of they put up with some of the toughest of the tough, and I was listening to one of your recent podcasts with Jim with the city of Petersburg or Peters.
Oh yeah, Jim's awesome. He's awesome.
Jim was amazing. Like, I was so I was really, really inspired by his message, but I really took away when he was talking about, the job's hard. Like, let's not make it harder. Right. And so I think, the blue collar is hard. And so, wear the blue collar with pride. Like, there's nothing shameful about that. It's a badge of honor. Wear it proudly.
Yep, man, that's what I see. I see everybody's really proud to be blue collar. It ain't a label. I mean, we can't just call everybody everywhere people. You got to have some kind of way to distinguish who these folks are. But yeah, I value the white collar folks in the offices and doing all that stuff. Everybody, we all got a different role to do, because I know most of the blue collar folks I meet, they ain't interested in working in the office, but we need somebody who is interested working in the office to go do that stuff and to do the sales and just all the stuff that's not happening out on the front line. So that's what I've seen. But I just want to share that I know Jim's going to be watching this. When Jim hears you say his name, and I hope I'm going to just talk to Jim real quick, because Jim, Denise is awesome. She'll speak to you. Find her on LinkedIn. Ria's been putting up her LinkedIn address at the bottom and her email address. Call her and charge your battery up, and she'll probably charge yours up too. Right? Jim's awesome. That
I would love to connect with Jim.
That thing fires me up whenever I watch it. That man, and he's a frontline guy. And it's just like I told him in there, and he couldn't believe that I interviewed him. He's like, why you want to interview me? And you saw why I wanted to interview him, right, Denise? And I told him, I see leaders all over this country at all levels that don't come close to being the kind of leader that Jim is from the front lines, because it ain't about position and title. It's about what you described earlier. It's about caring about people. All the stuff you just described, Jim putting on a clinic, doing that same thing.
He is living it.
Study, right?
Yeah, it's in his DNA. Like, I mean, there was nothing disingenuous or, made up. I mean, when he got emotional about just genuinely wanting people to be treated, respectfully and well to come to work. I mean, I could relate to that because I felt like I encountered some of that, just throughout my career and blue collar or, back office. Like there's a level of that, I think,
everywhere.
everywhere. There's a shortage of quality people leadership everywhere. And it's not, I don't think that it's not about good people or bad people. It's about people being intentional about developing that character side, right? And they get the job done, but do they do it in a way that lifts up everyone around them, in a way that inspires people to be better, do better, want to be a part of something bigger than themselves? And it's about setting the ego aside and really just doing what's right because it's the right thing to do. So when Jim's message, I was like, man, Jim's got it. Jim is on it. And that city is lucky to have Jim. It sounds like the whole city is kind of operating on that level. So good for them.
Yeah, if I was leading that city, I'd be having Jim probably doing book studies all over the place. He wouldn't be doing whatever he's doing today because that man's something special, and he genuinely cares about people. Any leader could take somebody like Jim and let him go do book studies with people and just elevate everybody because he's going to do what you did. And he's going to walk in and care about the people and interact with the people and listen. I mean, I've spoken with Jim several times, had dinner with him, and before he's just awesome human. He's that human being you saw. When you're authentic, you're just the same everywhere. And I think you're probably the same way, Miss Denise. I'm really glad that you got on here because you've been saying some really good stuff, some good stuff.
You.
And it's authentic.
Yeah, I tried to be. I'm going to be honest. It's been a really tough year for me, and you reaching out and asking me to do this podcast. It's at first, I mean, I declined because I just felt like I wasn't really in a good space, and I haven't been really following my own, leadership journey, and kind of been misaligned with that over the last year. And so you reaching out was really kind of that kick that I needed to pull myself up by the bootstraps and remind myself of, kind of why I am so passionate about this and kind of pull myself back, get refreshed with the 7 habits and dig deeper. And, the quote, sometimes when you think when it gets dark, you think you've been buried, but you've actually been planted. So I'm going to use this as the springboard to, grow forward, and you can't get through it without growing through it. So that's what we're going to do here.
Yeah. So and it's tough. I mean, it's tough for all of us. I mean, everybody I meet so many people, Denise, and they're gung ho when I first meet them. Some people they call me. I mean, I don't call them, they call me. I always tell people, I ain't calling you. You can call me anytime, but I don't want to talk to people unless they want to talk to me. So if they calling me, I know they want to talk. So I got plenty of people that call me, so I don't chase people to talk to, but anybody, and it, and most of the people on these interviews have started out with a story about like yours. Yeah, I call Mac and talk for 3 hours or 4 hours or 2 hours, and you're always welcome to do that. That, and you do reach out. And I always like seeing your name pop up, and I'm like, what's Denise up to? What's she making happen? But it is hard. And I tell people, personally and professionally, it doesn't matter. If your life's good right now, you just keep living. There's a tidal wave coming. To test you out. But if you can get through that wave, you're going to be better for it, right? You're going to grow. There's something, you're going to learn something from it. We're going to get tested personally. It could be our personal health. It could be some health of somebody we love. It could be work. It could be somebody we work with, somebody we report to, somebody that reports to us. It could be all kind of changes, right? World's always changing. Have you read our book, Change Happens, before?
I have not. I don't think I have read that one.
You might like to check that out. And
okay.
And when we get done, you can text me, or we'll be done on here. You can actually tell us once the recording stops, and we'll send you that. We send anybody that's in the U.S. who does a video with us, we send them a signed copy for free. So if you don't have that one, we can send you that. But you may like to listen to it. I can't send you that one for free, the audio, but because Rhea and I wrote that book together, so it's our normal format with 3 pages, but there's there's 15 chapters with 2 parts per chapter, so there's still like 30 chapters. But
Okay.
one of them is Rhea writes dealing with change kind of from a personal standpoint, and then whatever she's talking about, whatever that chapter title is, I write it from a leadership standpoint, and kind of, so it goes back and forth from me to Rhea. And the audio is not me and her speaking, but it is a male and female voice on the audio, so it's kind of neat. It goes back and forth. But that's a book. Just anybody, anywhere, whether it's professional or personal, that's a great book for just dealing with change in general to help your mindset get right. So it'll be a privilege to send you a signed copy of that one from.
Okay. I appreciate that very much.
From
it's
me
been
and Rhea.
Definitely a year of a lot of personal and professional change. So it was definitely about perfect timing.
And it's going to keep coming. Next year going to be the same way.
That is for sure.
Every year. So you just shared that quote. Is there any other quotes or principles that really stand out you'd just like to share with anybody who might be watching or listening? Things that resonated with you throughout your growth journey? Because you've been dropping some good stuff on us.
Well, I was just going to share a book with you actually, and with the rest of the group that I just recently finished. It's I don't have the author handy, but the book is called The Song of Significance, I believe was the title.
What's the name of it?
The Song of Significance. And
okay.
It's really about kind of a shift in the leadership mindset, from kind of moving from like an industrialist mindset to like a significance type mindset. And so it was really impactful, really easy read. It's kind of broken up into like kind of similar style to your books. And so just kind of like little easy digestible kind of breakdowns, but it was really impactful. And I think it kind of breaks down, and like especially on the blue collar side, I think the blue collar, kind of industries have been the industrialist mindset for a really long time. So it's, especially I know with your background in lean and Kaizen and, all these, the manufacturing stuff, it's like squeeze everything you can out of the system, squeeze everything you can out of the machine. And so, we've been kind of focusing on squeezing everything we can out of the people for a really long time. And I think that's left a lot of people kind of feeling just deflated and burnt out. And so this book kind of shifts that and moves it, it's aligned with the 7 Habits and a lot of other really good leadership content, but it's moving into a significance movement. And so people want to know that what they do matters, and that's back to the why, right?
Yeah.
What they're doing matters, that it's contributing to something bigger than themselves, that it's got some level of significance to it. And so, I found it really insightful. So wanted to share that.
I appreciate you sharing it. Make sure I got it right. It's the song, like music, the song of significance.
Hold on. Let me double check it. I don't want to.
Oh yeah. Rhea's actually, she's already been on it. She's checked. She's got it. The Song of Significance, a new manifesto for teams is a subtitle.
Yes. Okay. By Seth Godin, Godin.
Okay. Yeah. I've read some stuff from him before.
Okay.
Yeah. I'll check that out, but I got it. I'll write down the author's name, and that'll be a good reading. I don't know if you've ever read my book, 10 Values of High Impact Leaders, a black book. Have you ever seen that one?
I think I have.
This got I think the 10th value in there is the value of significance. One of them is, and the subtitle of that chapter is, "Are you going to settle for success?" Because there's something higher, which is significant.
I have read that book.
Yeah, you remember that one?
I do.
Yeah, so I like to read that. I learned about success and significance, that spin on it, from John Maxwell too. I learned a lot from John over the years reading a lot of his books, but that's a fairly new book, probably.
I think it was. I came across it on LinkedIn, like a lot of the good stuff I find, and it was. Like I said, I just finished it, and it was just the way it's broken down. Like I said, very similar to your content, so just very easy to digest and just simple. That's what I love about your content. You don't need a PhD in psychology or leadership development, and it doesn't matter if you're, a VIP or, a VP or a frontline leader with 6 months experience. You can take your content and apply it tomorrow. You read a chapter, apply it. So it's really, you can immediately start making a difference in your leadership journey, your personal journey. I mean, it's applicable to every area of life. And so there's just so much value that can be
and
so much value that can be applied. Yep.
I guarantee you Jim McEwen's already got that written down, and he probably had to pause this and order it.
I hope Jim likes it. I think Jim's living the song of significance, so he's got this.
That's outstanding. So Jim, if you're listening, when you get done reading that book, call me, man. I want to hear what you got out of it. So we're giving Jim some shout outs, and anybody watching or listening, they need to go watch Jim's video. He's a phenomenal guy, and Denise is the same. I'm not just inviting anybody to be on here, Denise. There's certain people. There's a lot of people on the list I haven't even reached out to yet. So I'm really glad that you changed your mind and said, let's make it happen, because you've been phenomenal. You got some really good stuff you've been sharing, and maybe down the road, there's a lot of these folks that I'm gonna get back for a redo, a follow up down the line. So maybe we can talk about what you got out of Change Happens next time, and how it helped you. And Rhea's new book, The Ladder of Influence. Have you heard of that, or happen to have seen it?
I've seen her post some of her. Yeah, I've seen some clips and stuff that she's been posting about it.
Yeah, that's one. You say your daughter's a couple years from graduating high school.
Yes.
Yeah, that's a book. You might want to do a book study with her, like Jim was talking about with you two, or maybe even with your husband. Anybody that's at the house could go through that. But when I read that book from Rhea, I told Rhea, I said, every high school student on the planet should have to read that book before they graduate, because it just gives you the big overview of how do you go out and climb the ladder of influence. And so anyway,
I'll check that out.
You may want to check that one out for your daughter, and that'd be a cool deal there. You got anything else? You shared some good stuff. I don't want to cut you off. If you got any nuggets, anything I didn't ask you that you would like to have talked about?
No, I just really appreciate this opportunity. I was really nervous and apprehensive to do a podcast. This is my first attempt, and it's been great. I really enjoyed the conversation with you and just talking about leadership. There's so much opportunity out there to pour into others, to just lead from where you stand. You don't need a title or position. You can be a rookie. You can be a 20-year veteran in whatever you do, but you can start today, wherever you stand. You can start today to develop your character and just do better. 1% a day, that's 365% a year, right? So just start where you're at and go from there. It's all up, right? If you just take a step forward.
That's good stuff. So again, thank you so much for joining us. It's been a privilege, and I hope you reach out like you have been doing for the last 7.5 years. I hope you keep doing it, because I really, just like you like helping people, you don't ever call or text or message without being something serious to talk about. So that's what I like talking about, the serious stuff. People don't call and talk to me about football and hunting and golf and all that sort of stuff. I don't want to talk about that. They can call somebody else, but you're always calling with some good stuff, and it makes me think. A lot of people who reach out to me like you do, especially if it's by text or message, it takes me a lot of time to respond, because I got to word it all just right. It takes a long time. But a lot of times I get lots of quotes and stuff that I put in my quote file from my replies to somebody. I may tell somebody an answer in a way that I've never really said it or thought about it. So I'll copy it and put it in my quote file, and somebody else will see it down the road when I'm sharing and posting. But that may be something you want to do one day. You might like to do a podcast or write a book. Sounds like you got some great stories. So it's easy to, when you're passionate about it like you are, it's easy to do it. And we can, Rhea and I can mentor you behind, to help you do any of that stuff if you ever were to want to do it. No charges always. We don't charge folks for mentoring. We just want to help people. So thank you again for being on, Denise.
Okay. I appreciate it, Mac, very much. I appreciate you and Rhea and both what you guys are doing in the leadership space and just continue to pour into others. And I appreciate everything that you've poured into me. So keep climbing.
I like that. Rhea's gonna like that. Keep climbing too. All right, folks. So thanks for watching and thanks for listening. And if you were listening, don't forget you can go watch this and you can see us on Blue Collar Leadership YouTube channel. All right. Talk to you next time.
Make it happen or someone else will. It might as well be you. Are you serious about taking your career and your life to the next level and beyond? Check out Mac Story's Blue Collar Leadership series books and others, now available on audio, along with paperback and ebooks at Amazon and Audible. Please visit bluecollarleadership.com to learn about Mac's books, programs, special offers, and more. Thank you for listening to the Blue Collar Leadership Podcast.